Welcome to our third ever installment of We Have Interviews. I'm Anthony.
I'm Stevie Wildcard.
And I'm Lee Newman.
And today we're here with Lee, who is a fantastic comic book writer. Lee, I recently read your book. You were gracious enough to send me an early copy of Sissonne. Is it Sissonne?
This is the best part. You've read the book, so you know the running gag is that no one knows how to say the name.
Exactly.
I think the proper pronunciation, if you were a ballet type person, is Sissonne, like Sissonne. But I mean, like it's like a running gag now. So everyone says it different on every show I go to. So I don't ever correct anyone, and I'm sure I say it wrong. So
So I read the book, and I'm a big fan of the book. It was perfectly right up my alley, which is something that I'm just like I don't get to feel that way a lot, which like I hate to admit that, but like not everything is for everyone, like Steve and I are very much in the genre of not for everyone, so it's like we
live there.
We live there. We just kind of tread the water of weird, and it's like I understand, like we wrote the Play It Again, which is kind of a weird, unconventional book, so it's like I don't expect everyone to like that, and I hope everyone else feels similarly. However, I read Susan. I read
perfect.
Yeah, I read Susan, and I loved it, dude. It very much like brought me back to like my roots of like 90s indie comedy comic type stuff, like The Tick, and just I couldn't get enough of like the jokes and the humor. I was just like there for all the dialogue, and I freaking love it. So I'm glad we get to have you on the show. Like, welcome, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So, Steven, the rest is up to you. I'm doing nothing the rest of the night. I did it. I did my job.
So Anthony's already kind of pulled some of the tidbits of who you are and what you're working on. But who are you? And please tell me more about this Shoney's project. No, I'm just kidding.
My name's Lee Newman. Obviously, you've said at least 3 times now. I am a comic book writer, prose writer. I've done a little bit of journalism stuff. My heart, though, is really in indie comics. And I've done a lot of editing, but I haven't done a lot of my own projects. So this was an opportunity. Basically, I did this book work for hire, and the guy that hired me to write it, we tried really hard to get the book off the ground, and it couldn't quite make it. And I loved it. He loved it. Everyone loved it. So a few years went by, and I offered to buy the rights off him to give it one more shot. And we actually did manage to get it funded this time. So now everybody gets to read Sissonne.
That's
awesome.
Incredible.
That's a great, cool story.
It's a best case scenario. It's like you're like, oh, I get hired and paid to do this thing, and then I kind of like it, and then I can actually make, I can bring it to the world, and now it's mine. Ha ha ha. So basically, what we're saying is Lee is a dragon, and Sissonne is his gold, and he's hoarding it. He's just like, mine now. But so I mean, you're smart though. That's pretty cool. I mean, are you saying that you're like the George Lucas of our time? Do you have like the toy rights? Are you going to start making Sissonne figures?
Merchandising is important. We've learned.
Well, I own pretty much the book outright, but since Brian was so generous to let me buy the rights off him, we actually there's a whole shared universe with a couple other characters.
Oh,
so
cool.
Brian can write. He does novelizations. So he actually included a novelization of this first issue in our Kickstarter pack. And so he has the rights to do any kind of, he knows how to use my characters. I know how to use his characters. So we kind of have that freedom to use them in each other's universes. He's just going to be novelizing, and I'll just be doing sequential art.
So you've basically created your own sandbox together, basically, which is really awesome. I mean, you guys just play with these figures in your own shared universe. That's
pretty
sick.
much, yeah.
Wow, that's really cool and generous and pretty unconventional for creators, as in general. Steve and I were like, we were just talking about our relationship and how we create things together, and how it very much feels like we're trying to recreate like the magic of like a Stan Lee, Jack Kirby situation. Like we're constantly trying to do that without the eventual fallout that comes with like the that kind of like, I hate to say the egocentric like ownership of a thing, where it's like everyone wants to be like have the biggest part of the pie, whereas Steven and I are both like, no, you have the last piece, you take the last piece, you get the last piece, you get it, it's yours, Steven, eat it. And then like we're basically having a food fight for who got who gets 88% of the credit or whatever. But that's really cool that you're willing and able to work something like that out, where and that way it doubles up with the exposure, so people who aren't necessarily interested in comic books can find Susan B. Anthony the other way, where it's no, but it's
Sissonne.
Sissonne.
So Sissonne. So, but like, it's really cool that they can find Sissonne both novelized and otherwise, and hopefully eventually in a whole in different realms like animation. That would be cool.
I'd almost like view it like how like some people would like digest Coheed and Cambria, right? Like, so Coheed and Cambria, like people just love their music and they just love that. But once they find out there's this huge universe too, like I imagine like if someone like is reading your friend's, novelizations and stuff and really enjoys this world that's being built by him and doesn't for some reason know that you do a comic or sequential art version of it, they suddenly have like someone like me, when I find out there's enough stuff to obsess over and I'm already obsessing over one part of it, I start to just consume all of it. I look for everything I can get. So I mean, that's pretty awesome. Like what Anthony's saying too. Like that's great.
So for people who may not know, Lee, will you walk us through a little bit about like what Sissonne is about, and tell us a little bit about the Kickstarter and like what the rewards tiers are kind of like a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the whole idea is he's, like you said, it's very in the vein of those kind of 90s indie books. So very like The Tick, very Madman, very kind of like just a superhero trying hard, who might not be the most successful superhero. Kind of the running gag through all of Grand City, which is our sandbox, is that the heroes and villains kind of suck, but I mean that they're still entertaining to watch. So
we're here, okay?
That's exactly. At least you have a hero.
Yeah.
But his whole deal is he has indestructible feet, which the way that came about is Brian was like, we just got to think of a weird power, think of something kind of silly that we can write a book with. And so I was like, well, what if he does like ballet and has indestructible feet? And he was like, nailed it. So he just sent me off to write it. And that's what this first issue is. It's him kind of, we start out when his life's going pretty good. And within the first few pages, immediately his secret identity is blown. So everything is spiraling from there. And it's him trying to kind of pick up the pieces and try to still be a hero to the best of his ability, while his secret identity is blown and he's trying to, fight the bad guy and do everything he needs to do to still be a hero.
Oh, it's fantastic. I love, like, in the world lends itself to just a huge bevy of joy. Like, just the idea of like him being undefeated, and the fact that like at one point there could be a Bizarro Sissonne, and it's like evil is afoot, and it's like there's so much you can do. I love it. I love that universe. But like, it's totally worth reading, and I could just say, like, we're not being paid to say this at all. I loved reading this book, and I like, as a writer, I really enjoyed the resolution and how it comes about. I don't want to spoil anything, but it was all fantastic, and it was like, it's unconventional and fun. There are bits of it narratively that I was like, I'm sure this is where this is gonna end, but in a good way, in the like, I'm excited to see how this comes about sort of way, and I can't wait for people to read it, dude. So the campaign's still running, right?
Yeah, it runs till September the 10th.
Awesome. September 10th?
Yeah.
Awesome.
September 10th, yeah.
I can't, yeah, so go check that out. I'll post all the links below. So let's get into just a little bit more about Lee, and like, we'll also play a game, Lee. We're gonna play our Comic Conjectures, but first I have a couple of questions for you. So what was your first ever attempt at writing? Like, what got you into writing?
But what's funny is I've kind of rediscovered thinking about this, because I see a lot of people on Twitter post questions like that. And I think the first story I wrote was,
first of all, nonsense, Lee. Nonsense. No one's ever asked that question before. This is an original question. It's a no one. I am just like, I plucked it from the gods. I was like, I need an original, and they were like, here you go. It was like just pennies from heaven. You've never heard that before. Start from the top. Take two, Lee. Got it.
So since no one's ever asked me this question before, I have no prepared answer. But if I were to dig back into my past, the first story I remember writing was called Larry the Leech, and I was in grade school, and I took it to my dad, and he's banker by day, rock and roll guy by night in a band. So like, he's got a pretty good dichotomy going on. And I'm a kid, so I'm like, hey, I made this, and I wasn't sure how he was going to take it, and he loved it. It was so weird and so random, and he loved it and praised me, and I just like, that's, I guess, a writer was born. That's one of the earliest things I wrote.
And that's why it's so important to be a good freaking parent. You know what I'm saying? Like,
so important.
It's
Yeah,
so
dude.
important, but like Larry the Leech. I mean, I'm interested already. I'm invested in Larry the Leech.
That was just like mine. I was like, I made Gerbil Man. Steven made one about like high school evil monkeys, right? Like,
Why do we just love animals? Like,
yeah,
well, they
well,
really do pound it into us in kindergarten and stuff. Like,
for sure.
Hungry Caterpillar and animals are great. Color
No, but that's
coordination.
incredible. So that was your okay. I mean, that's a fantastic origin story. So what was? Oh, I should probably. Well, it's okay. What was the first thing that you actually published?
So I guess the first thing in mind that actually got published was when I was an intern for the local newspaper. So I had stories that I wrote that got published there. Not really exciting,
Still
but
cool.
one of the thank you. One of the first things that I actually published was I did a children's book called Creepy Kitchen, where it's just a fun picture book, and inside of it, all of the kitchen utensils are movie monsters. So you've got like the whisk wolf that's a werewolf that's a whisk, and
There.
Oh,
Count
that's
Chocula.
awesome.
So it's every one of them, and mostly Universal monsters because I have an affinity for all of those.
Yeah.
So they're all takes on
Classics
basically
for a
Universal
reason.
monsters.
Oh yeah.
Who is your dad? No, I'm just kidding. Who or what?
And
has
what does he do?
Yeah, he already answered it though. Really, I mean, it's kind of a silly thing to say because he actually answered that exactly. But who or what has inspired you the most as a creator?
Well, if you'd asked me this question before I really got into indie comics, I'd say some good answers, but boilerplate answers. Things like H.P. Lovecraft, Stephen King, Clive Barker, a lot of horror stuff, and then classic comics like Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, things like that, like all the old stuff. But I think what keeps me making books and what really inspires me now is since I've gotten so involved with the indie community, everyone is just constantly pumping out incredible stuff, like the page that you put out today, Stephen, from
Thank
Deathless.
you.
I mean, everyone is making such amazing stuff. You're like, I gotta make more amazing stuff. Everyone else is doing it. We gotta make more cool stuff.
And that's why I love this community, though. Like it's like that driving force too. Like you're just like all rising together, just kind of like doing your best to fly to the ceiling, So it's awesome. I mean, Deathless
The
has been a
ceiling.
journey,
That's
for sure.
that's your goal, Steven.
That's
You're
where I
not-
stop.
I'm shooting for the moon, Steven's
Listen,
like.
buddy, I got vaulted ceilings. Like, I don't have vaulted ceilings.
You have vaulted ceilings. Steven is a balloon that gets trapped in a corner, and I'm like, Steven, we can go out the window, Steven. There's
a
more.
sunroof that's open. You can just fly right out. Sky's
He's
the
being
limit,
conservative.
buddy.
He doesn't want a Willy Wonka situation.
I don't want that at all.
All right, Lee. We have to ask everyone, of course, because we have issues. What are your biggest issues with creating in general and like day-to-day type of stuff, and how do you find time to write at all anyway?
Well, it's funny you say that because I started watching you guys when I was still writing what will be the first issue of a new series, and I was struggling with finding time to do everything and feeling like I had accomplished something. And you guys on your show holding each other accountable, and you being like, okay, this is my goal today. I'm going to write one page. If I just write one page, then I did something. And I kind of started setting that goal for myself just to say, okay, this is the benchmark. If you hit it, fine, go play video games, do whatever you want to do, go get a hamburger. But, so like, then you've done it and you can say, well, I accomplished something today. So, but that is very difficult to find the time to write, because I do also have a day job as well. So, sometimes you get off work and you don't want to go be creative, but if you wait until you feel like it, then you might not ever do it. So sometimes you just have to be like, okay, we're writing tonight.
Yeah, you just have to put yourself in. I mean, that's what like I basically do is with my mornings, because especially in the summer, since I work outside, like in the Florida, when I get home about 4:30, I'm like middle of my shift at work. I'm like, yeah, when I get home, I'll start doing this and this. And when I get home, I'm just like dead to the world because like the sun just wins. But you're right. Like if you can if you set those like little goals too and you accomplish it, you also don't feel guilty when you do guilty pleasures such as video games or put Bob's Burgers on for the 80th time. Like it's just it's a good structure.
You're only on your 80th rewatch of Bob's Burgers, Steven. Catch up with me. God, you were stuck on The Office for too long. Catch up.
I've been doing the Superfan episodes lately. I gotta absorb them. I still have to watch the Superfan episodes at least 20 times so I can absorb all the other stuff.
It's true. Lee, what are your? I mean, this isn't on the list, but like, what do you have any shows that you like return to often? That's like your like comfort show.
Oh man. Okay. So let's see. What do we watch a lot of? Superstore is really good. My wife and I actually just finished that, and like as soon as you finish it, like it's got such a good resolution, you're ready to start it over again. So that's one we watch a lot. How I Met Your Mother. Superstore. Good one. Oh, it's excellent, especially as a retail worker. You should probably watch.
Yeah, actually, Josh recommended that. Like our buddy Josh, he was actually on one of the episodes of the podcast recently.
I saw it. Yeah.
He recommended that show to me. He said it's really funny. So
really, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, like with sitcoms, it's always hit or miss because like you never know if you're going to get like just another like standard like boilerplate like cookie cutter sitcom that's about a you know like a shopping center, or if it's like Community, you know, where it's like something that's actually special and like there's this weird magic.
That show's brilliant.
Yeah, where it's like, but like if you try to explain Community, especially if like you. Like I remember when Community is on air, I'm trying to get people to watch it, and I'm like, you know, it's at a college, it's at a community college, and it's a bunch of weirdos, you know, and like I try to sell it to certain people, and I'm like, you have to talk, like you have to sell different aspects of different shows to certain people to explain that weird ineffable magic, you know, or it's like, look, it's brilliant, like there's so much going on in the show, but anyway, it's kind of cool.
You said Him Yim as well, right? And like. That's probably one of the only shows that has a laugh track that I actually still like really enjoy. Cause like sometimes it is hard for me to get past laugh track shows, but like how much has a lot of good running jokes. I think that's what it is. I think it's like you become like part of their group, you know, basically like you're included in all their little inside jokes.
We're all making cults all the way down. Every single one of us. We're making a cult right now. We're indoctrinating Lee into our cult. We've been trying for weeks. We're like, I don't know, probably months at this point. I'm losing time. All my time is just gone. I don't know.
The ostrich flavored Kool-Aid, which I don't know what that would probably be. That probably wouldn't be a very good flavor.
Steven,
just tell me what color t-shirt to buy.
Not with that attitude, Steven. We need ostrich.
Listen, we have Kool-Aid. It's not great.
It's mediocre Kool-Aid at best, but it's ostrich flavored.
So we ran out of the packet to water ratio.
You know,
so like, it's pretty. It's basically like, you know, like sparkling, like that LaCroix. It's like the LaCroix of Kool-Aid. It's like maybe it was cherry. It looks cherry. In a past life, maybe, but that's our Kool-Aid. That's what we got going on in the ostrich colony.
You guys serve it in cups? No. It's in a hole in the ground like sand. You dip your head in and you sip.
The sediments fall to the bottom. Don't worry, not everyone gets dirt in their teeth.
To be honest, it improves the flavor. The flavor is not okay. It's unacceptable. Anyway, we're getting crazy, Steven. Okay.
So far, none of that is a deal breaker yet.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
So
where do I sign? Basically, is what I'm saying.
Okay, Lee. So every week, we try to play a different game with our guest, and this week we are going to play Comic Conjectures. So, Steven, will you please? You have double duty this week, Steven. I'm gonna throw.
I do. Just pick a letter. Let's start with a letter, Lee.
Okay. Do we get the song?
That's the double duty, Steven.
Oh, dang it! It's comic. I never remember because I literally have the worst memory, so I just make it up every time. So anyway, it's Comic Conjecture Hour. Steven's running the show tonight because Anthony failed. Full success. DC, not Marvel, just DC Encyclopedia. Lee, pick a letter now. It's Comic Conjectures.
That was fantastic.
That was the best one.
Amazing.
That was the best. You always say you forget the words and then you say them all.
I just want you to know that it's probably because I'm not that great and I just do the same jokes over and over again, even when I don't remember the joke. So
yeah,
but if you nail the joke, it's fine.
Yeah, I guess it works.
All right, so we need a letter.
Okay,
Lee.
some letters. H.
Good, because I was already there and it's scrolling super slow.
Nice.
I'm just gonna move my mouse around. Hayoth, Hayyoth. Hayoth. I'm gonna make sure it's not like one of the super groups like Anthony struggled with before. Hold
on. Okay. What are you thinking, Lee? Hero or villain for Hayoth?
It might be none of these things, but we get to have fun anyway.
That's a tough one. I want to say it sounds like this is DC, right?
Mm-hmm. DC, yes.
Okay. It feels like it could be hero to me, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm like my first just like gut instinct is I can tell you 100% that this is a character that discovered a magic belt somewhere. It was someone who tripped. I'm gonna say, okay, this is what they're doing. This is a story. They're walking down the street, and they hear ah! And they look over, and as they see all of these people doing karate, they trip on the sidewalk and they break their teeth.
Yeah.
And they break their teeth.
I got it.
So as they break their teeth, they're like, and they're like, what do I do? I don't like, oh, and they freak out. But as they're freaking out, they look over and they see something glowing. It's glowing in this. I'm just making time for Steven. It's glowing. In
I have it.
Okay,
it is a super team, but it's still kind of
okay. I got this though. So he sees something glowing in an alley and he follows it.
I got this though.
So he goes in the alley and it's a belt, and he puts it on, and it's a karate belt, and he goes and he tries to summon. He feels the energy building within him, and as he says the way, just like Shazam has to say Shazam, just like as powerfully as he can, he summons all of his power, and he says with his broken teeth, Hayath!
That sounds perfect.
I'm
supposed to follow that. That was perfect. You nailed it.
No, but when Steven, okay, so my fear here, Steven, is you happen to choose something that was like, what is it? Is it a totem?
It's like so super serious. It's so funny because you went like the Hayath are an Israeli super team named after the 4 angelic beings in the book of Ezekiel in the Bible, who bore the faces of the lion, the eagle, the ox, and the man. They were formed by the Israeli government and operated as a division of the Mossad, the Israeli Special Forces, under the command of Colonel Hakohen. The Hayath.
I nailed it, except they say Krav Maga. Like,
it's not karate. It's Krav Maga.
Yeah, I got it. Like
it was almost exactly the same.
I said it in the same way Steven always nails the theme song. I definitely 100% said the thing Steven said. The stenographer will read it back.
We never miss.
We never miss. All right. Do you want to do the same letter, Steven? Do you see anything else?
Yeah, I gotta go back down to 390. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie. This is definitely a very virus laden thing I did, because my computer's like, what are you doing to me, man?
Steven's
like
very
a lady
legitimately
pops up dancing on the side of the screen, like back in the 90s.
It's like, oh man, like when I scroll with my wheel, it's like, like 3 scrolls behind my scroll. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah.
All right, give me a letter.
Oh, a different letter?
Different letter. Okay. K.
Ooh, okay.
I was lucky that time.
I was on X.
I was on X. Okay, K. Kandor. Kandor.
Okay. That's okay. That sounds like it could be Kryptonian. And it's a hero, I think, maybe.
Yes, but
okay.
I'm looking at it, and it's gone now.
Steven invented that character is what this is.
No, I found it. I was like so confused. I'm like going through it. I'm like, what? I just saw it. 166.
I like the idea of Krypton. You know what? That's something I've never really considered. What if on Krypton there was someone who was from a different planet who absorbed their red sun the way Superman absorbs our yellow sun? And like, what if there was a Superman or different heroes and villains and such on Krypton before it exploded?
That's an excellent thought experiment. I'm surprised there's not some kind of Elseworld scenario where they talk about that, if there isn't.
Yeah, because I mean, I'll tell you, I won't get into it in this episode, but I've been slowly building my case against Goku, just behind the just behind the curtain, slowly, just doing all the math, just knowing how right I am. No, I'm kidding. But what I have done is, like, I do like those thought experiments. So like, I do want to know all the information about the different characters. So I'm just like, can Superman absorb powers or like absorb energy in different ways? And I've learned that he can, and he absorbs different light energy from different sources at different times. That's why, because I was like, couldn't he just absorb a Kamehameha and just completely reflect? So I was thinking about it, and I was like, because it's essentially. So I did the whole math, and I was like, what is key energy? Where does it come from? But it's like spinning around. But regardless, my point is,
Goku wins. I wasn't paying attention.
I stopped after you said that obviously wrong thing. No, No, but I was thinking like, so the way Superman can absorb from various sources, there should be like there is a unbreakable person and a Mr. Glass. There's always like the opposite side of that battery, the flip side of the coin. Why isn't there someone who absorbs the red sun the way Superman does? Like, so so I don't know, someone like Kandor, like maybe Kandor is a character on Krypton who is the only hero of Krypton, like everyone else on Krypton is incredibly intelligent, or like they're trying their best to create like this like Socratic or like Platonic, society in which everyone is just like these intellectuals and they're living their best lives. And what if there is just this barbarian on Krypton who's out there just saving the day, and he's just the Hellboy of that society,
All of what both of you said about Kandor, it's so weird how close you were, but like how bad I am at picking these, because Kandor is a fictional city.
Oh, in the glass jar. I didn't want to be
but
wrong,
it is it is from Krypton though. So you guys were definitely like,
is it just like the shrunken city that Superman saves all the time, or is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That always gets, what's the guy that collects stuff, whatever the collector is in DC.
Brainiac.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yep, miniaturized by a shrinking ray.
I've seen that. I didn't know the name of that at all. I don't want to say my other guess for Kandor. Steven, give us one more that's not like a blade.
Dude,
or what are you doing, Steven?
Here's the thing. When you do this, when you mess this part up, you have a book where your hand is holding the index. And you're just flipping right back. Me, I have to scroll through this virus-laden like death pool.
Oh, that's true. We're committing. We're just committing, Steven. It's okay.
I'm gonna go with a random
Superman.
The Creeper.
All right, I know the Creeper.
Okay.
The Creeper should be played by
I think
Nick
I actually
Cage.
also know the Creeper as well.
Okay, how about Chevy Chase? No, I'm just kidding. That is actually listed though.
Is it? Wait, what?
I swear to God.
Wait, 240. Steven. Okay, Lee, Chevy Chase, hero or villain?
Well,
I think it really depends on who you ask and what the time period is in his career.
Yeah, I mean, as of late, he's gone the villain route. So.
Look, I'm gonna land straight villain. I'm technically related to Chevy Chase. I know this. He's like, we're like third cousins or whatever. His real name is Cornelius Crane, and so I know that he's a villain and that his father was on Jekyll Island, like planning things behind the scenes and being evil, and he's just part of an evil syndicate. So I know he is working with people like Lex Luthor against the Metropolis Society for sure. Like, there's no way he's a good guy.
That's a compelling case, Anthony.
Yeah. Steven, who is Chevy Chase?
Dude, like it says page 240, but hold on. I'm looking and there is nothing to do with Chevy Chase. I feel like some intern like did that on purpose to like snuck it in, the editor missed it. Like was just like was watching Community and accidentally typed Chevy Chase instead of Mockingbird or something, hon. DC
What are the odds, whatever weird website you got this version of the encyclopedia from, they were just putting in their own stuff?
Like, listen, man, this is just a virus. We're not trying to be real over here. We're trying to get your banking information.
Okay, it's also a character with super speed who is so obsessed with money that he goes to every car dealership he could possibly find for sponsorship, and no one will have him. But eventually, like, Chevy is just like, fine, you can wear a Chevy shirt.
Chevy
Chase. Chevy Chase.
Chevy Chase.
Chevy Chase.
All right, I'm just gonna do that one website, and since we're just kind of just
you're gonna Wikipedia Chevy Chase right now, Steven?
No.
It says villain on Wikipedia. We can't explain it. super speed.
I'm just generating superhero. Who's
Sissonne?
Ganthet.
Ganthet? Okay. That sounds like a villain, I think. The name sounds familiar, but I don't think I know exactly who it is. But it sounds villainy to me.
What is
I hope I'm saying it right. Gan, G-A-N, Thet, T-H-E-T, Ganthet, one word.
It's
a thick gambit. Like, it's just like
Ganthet.
A boss gambit.
No, he's sick. He's oh shit, just can't stop sneezing. Oh man, can you imagine Gambit gets really sick, he puts tissues up his nose, and then when he sneezes, kinetic energy like shoots him out and explodes things.
That's disgusting and amazing and awesome.
That's pretty much my wheelhouse, Lee. That's all.
That's
all
where I
got.
live.
That's where I live. Now, okay, Ganthet though. Do you have like an answer for this one?
I do.
Okay,
Because what I did was I typed in DC like random character generator and I clicked it 8 times when it was because I don't know DC that well, but I knew like the first 8 clicks. I knew like the 6 they showed the first 8 clicks. So I was like, well, everyone knows
Martian Manhunter, Martian Manhunter, Martian Manhunter,
Killer Croc.
All right,
yo, are we some sort of Suicide Squad? Martian Manhunter.
It's Martian Manhunter. Okay, Lee. So, do you think Ganthet's a villain or hero?
I'm feeling villain. It sounds like he might be a beefy guy too. Like Ganthet, you're right. It sounds like a thick, like like a thick dude. At least 3 C's.
That's what I was thinking too. Ganthet. Oh, man, who would he be?
I got all that information for you.
Do you? Oh, sweet.
I do. He's single. I know that too. I don't know.
Okay. His
marital status is single.
That tells us everything we need to know.
His real name is Ganthet. There's no secret identity.
He's like Madonna.
He is.
He's Beyonce.
His affiliation
is thick.
Is with the Guardians of the Universe. He was formerly in the Blue Lantern Corps, but is now currently in the Green Lantern Corps. The race he is Malthusian or Malthusian. He's
so,
like
completely wrrong.
Completely wrong. He almost looks like Udo the Watcher from Udo from Marvel? He almost looks like that guy, but green.
Was Guardians of the Universe before Guardians of the Galaxy?
I don't think so because he appeared in unless the Guardians were before his time, because his first appearance is in 1992.
Interesting.
Or mainstream universe. He's been in the mainstream universe since 86.
It would be really funny if Marvel was like, we have Guardians of the Galaxy, and DC was like, I'm gonna let you finish, but we have Guardians of the Universe over here. Much bigger place. They're just like, they're better.
Ganthet is one of the Guardians of the Universe. However, while most of the Guardians are very unemotional and distant, Ganthet has a personality that is more human-like, including displays of empathy and concern for an individual. Instead of only thinking of the Green Lantern Corps, Ganthet is part of the Quintessence, a group of near omnipotent beings who oversee the results of what happens on Earth. So he basically is almost like Udo the Watcher, or Uda the Watcher. I forget the guy's name.
So is he one of like the little blue guys that keeps the lanterns in line? Is that his deal? Is he one of
That's
those?
what he kind of looks like. He has like an oversized head, it looks like.
Okay.
He literally looks
no
like
one's gonna buy my comic book. I've gotten every one of these so terribly wrong. Your comics are gonna be lit up. This guy knows nothing about comics.
I think part like this game. I think what this game really is a proof of a story generator. Like that's kind of the fun that I find in it. It's just like it doesn't matter if you don't know it. It's the fact that like you can look at something like a random name and create an entire world that's so different from what it actually is that you could literally use it if you like it. And like I originally stumbled upon this like hoping that like, hey, if you can't think, if you're stuck and you're like, what do I do? How do I come up with ideas? One of my favorite ways is to look up like anthology series that I'm not as familiar with, and I'll just like look at random episode titles from things. I'm like, I've never seen every like Friday the 13th anthology, so I'll look like episode 16 and see what it's called and guess what it's about, and then like I'll be wrong as hell, but now I have a cool story, and like that's a pretty easy way to come up with stories. Anyway, so I think most people would get a lot of these wrong. It's like, that's hopefully the fun of it. I think if you got them all right, it would be a boring segment is the thing. You know?
As the wronger you are, the better. Like if you just go like completely off the rails, like it's just,
I think Lee, you were too close with a couple of them, and we need to start from the top and just get them wrong.
Just do it all right,
over again. Start the whole episode again. Start from the top.
Welcome to, okay. So that was our Comic Conjectures segment with Lee Newman. You can find his comic Sissonne on Kickstarter. It's live now. Go check it out. All the links are below. It's a really funny, hilarious comic. You'll see our full interview with him in the very near future. Check it out. He's amazing. Lee, we have some more questions for you before we go.
Okay.
Lee, we talked about this a little bit on Twitter, and I need to hear the story. You and I have some like a shared history a little bit. So I have to ask you a question. Have you ever quit a job? And tell us your tale.
I have. Okay, so here's my tale. This is because you were mentioning working at Blockbuster.
I am old.
As am I. I worked at multiple movie galleries and also Hollywood Video. So here is my
two households, both alike in dignity.
Right? So this is my I quit movie gallery story. I was working another job, and I was closing, and I had to be back for inventory the next day. And inventory in a video store is it's like 5 o'clock in the morning. It's it's brutal. Well, at least for a 20-odd-year-old kid working another job. I was like, yeah, forget this. I don't want to do that. So like, that's it. I'm quitting. I'm gonna have a job. I'm done. And so I was like, you know what? I've been here so long. I've done so much. They owe me something. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna make a fake account. And I'm gonna rent some video games. And so I make this ridiculous. I made it. Literally, I had started heavily reading H.P. Lovecraft. So I was like, Howard Philip Lovecraft, Dunwich, Massachusetts.
Yes.
And I picked out a couple games. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna rent these. I was like, but I don't want my till to be wrong, so I'm gonna pay for them though. So I paid for the games I rented. I'm like, but they're mine. They're never gonna find me. These are my games now. So I wrote a little resignation letter, walked out on my games, tossed my keys in the return box. And I was like, I'm done. And these games belong to me. I returned them a day early.
Well, I don't want anyone to be upset. I don't want.
What if someone goes there, they really want to rent this game? Like, I'm really hurting them.
I felt so guilty. I didn't even play them. I just
It
was so. Yeah, it's like I can't. It's like when you play something like Knights of the Old Republic. It's like you want to choose the bad choice, but you're just like light side. So I couldn't.
Can't do it.
Like Fable, dude. Like when you at the end of the first Fable, where if you kill your sister, you get that powerful sword. I think it was, and I was just like, I'm gonna create a whole nother save file real quick, and I'm gonna do it just to see what it's like. But it's not gonna be my main save file. It's not. This isn't me, okay? Yeah, I feel that, dude.
Oh yeah, it's weird. I
relate.
I definitely relate to that. Like, I even feel weird. So I played Minecraft with my son a lot, and I even feel weird when like sometimes we'll be like, okay, well let's just have fun. We have TNT. We could blow some stuff up. And as soon as we do it, as soon as it happens, I'm like, I feel terrible. There was a whole society here, and like those villagers will never recover from this. It's economic collapse. We created a dystopian like apocalypse, and it was us. We are the apocalypse here. But yeah, I get that. When I quit from Blockbuster, I simply stopped going is what I did. I just didn't
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, I don't like, basically the manager I really liked, got fired.
For a stupid reason too.
It was a weird thing. I mean, I understand from like a corporate perspective, there was like the person I was working with, they had nightly drops. You have like, bag of money. Usually we weren't very busy. We had one bag of money he dropped in the bank. One night he had two bags, and he totally forgot, threw one bag into the bank. The other one went underneath his seat in his car. He went into work the next day, and like his boss called him, they talked to him, they showed up, and they're like, look, we need this money. Where's it? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then like he was like, I'll go check my car. And he did. And it was under the seat. And he was just like, I just forgot. He's like, that's never been the case. And like, I'm sorry. And they fired him, which I get it, but he was my favorite manager and he was so great.
And it was like first one, like, not to say his name, but he was just the coolest guy and never had any problems. Like, you'd think they would think it was an honest mistake.
Yeah. And then after him, we had another manager who basically did cocaine in the manager's office and was never in the store with me at the same time. Like, he was supposed to be, but he was always out front smoking, or he was doing some kind of drugs in the, like I was told it was cocaine and various stuff. But yeah, and I was like, that's what you replaced him with. That's it. Like, okay, cool, great. So eventually it just became like one of those, like, I don't like this job anymore. It's not fun. And I very much set up, so I will allegedly, so I'm not saying I did this. I'm just saying like if I were to have considered doing something, it would have gone a little something like this. I took a Visa, allegedly took a Visa gift card and created a monthly membership where you get 3 rentals at a time, unlimited, for the month. So I used a Visa gift card to create one of those a membership with one of those accounts, and just began to rent movies with that. And you weren't supposed to set up those accounts with those types of cards, because once the money's gone, it acts as if it's a credit card that's just being paid, but it is not. So there was only there was like $10 I think on the card, and I rented 3 movies at a time for the rest of life until Blockbuster. I depleted Blockbuster's funds allegedly. Like,
why Blockbuster closed? Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. But like I literally did that until Netflix started. Like as soon as, like I started getting the mailers and Netflix, I was like, I'm never driving again. I'm never leaving my home if I don't have to ever again. But yeah, so that was my Blockbuster quitting story. But yeah, that was a weird job. It was mostly fun, then it got not so fun. That happens with most jobs I've had, I guess. But, yeah. Okay, so now we have to talk. Okay, so Lee, there are a lot of people out there. We're all in various stages of our careers, and like writing, like skill levels and such. How can someone who's never written a comic or never written anything get to where you are? Like, what are some good first steps, like introductory type stuff that you'd like to share with people?
I think some of the best advice that I got when starting to write comics is to start small. I mean, everyone feels like they've got like Lord of the Rings inside them, and that's awesome. Sit on that, hone it, make it good. But I think if you want to actually get stuff out, the best way to do that is start small. Do things for anthologies. Basically do all kill or no filler. If you can write 6 pages and tell a story, that's awesome. Then you'll be able to tell Lord of the Rings and keep people in it. So the ability to tell a concise story is really, really important. So I think that's probably the best advice I can give, is to don't worry about that big story you've got. I mean, nurture it, keep it in your head, but you have to build a reputation. I mean, it's all about getting work out there, and especially anthologies and places that would pick up your work. A lot of places want to know what the end is. So if you say, here's a whole story, 6 pages, or here's a one-shot, it's a lot easier to sell that than say, okay, well, this is part 1 of my 2,000 issue run that I'll be finishing by the time I'm 85.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, dude.
And I think we all want to be, we of course all want to tell that big story, but like that's why Play It Again was a single issue. That's why Deathless is us kind of dipping our toes in a slightly expanded series, but like it makes the most sense to me, because no one knows who you are, right? So like, are they going to invest or even think about reading something that's that long? So you're just gonna make it difficult on yourself too, because I mean, that's a lot of pressure, that's a lot of stuff to put out, and you would have to consistently put out. So you're absolutely correct. Like anthologies is probably the best route to go, really, if you're like just starting, just going somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think in any case, it's just do what you can where you are with what you have. Like if you write the story that's the most reasonable, and tangible as far as what you can, create, and then take the first steps. I think like a lot of people get trapped in like considering those huge worlds, and they spend all this time in that world building those worlds, and they never take the first steps to show people that world. That like they want to be Aladdin on the magic carpet and like treat us all like Jasmine, but they never build the carpet. So it's like you have to start stitching at some point. So, and like anthologies are a good place to start for sure. Especially, I think it's also a good idea, kind of like what we've been talking about, Steven, with our Vampthology and like movies and stuff like that, where it's like I have a lot of these like individual stories that can be tethered together eventually into a longer story. So I'm going to make, short films that I can eventually tether to make a feature film, so you can do the same thing with comics, like Lee was saying, where you make something small, like do what you can, and then maybe you can make several something smalls and put them together to make something beautiful, something big, and then it's a whole new world, and you are Aladdin. Congratulations, so. All right, Lee. So I'm so excited for Sissonne. I can't wait to get my copy. I can't wait. So will you tell us, first of all, where people can find you, where they can find the book, and what you are going to be working on next?
Okay. I'm in a couple different places. Most active on Twitter. If you just want to talk to me, talk at me. I have on Global Comics, which is an incredible indie website. I've got a bunch of free to read stuff. It's mostly horror. It's actually me testing the waters exactly the way that I said. It was me finding an artist in a price range I could afford, and I was like, okay, I've got a 6-page horror story, and it's like kind of Tales from the Crypt kind of stuff. And so that's there's a couple different ones of those that you can read for free on Global Comics. I have.
So, where did you find the artist? Just so I can, because I know some people always want to know
sure.
that. So,
well, Connecting Comic Book Writers and Artists is a Facebook group where I found a lot of people. And then Global Comics actually has their own talent pool as well. It's part of the website. So now you can actually put yourself on there to be hired, as well as go and find people as well to work with you.
Very cool. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's fine. So yeah, Global Comics, if you want to read my stuff. There's also, I tried my hand at a webcomic. It's horribly drawn, but it's called Burdened Vessel, and it stars Dudebeard the Pirate.
Yes,
and
that sounds awesome.
I mean, it's basically like dad jokes and just like not great. But what I did was I instead of just putting it out again, because it's all lost to time, so I just grabbed as much of it as I could off of Facebook, and now I post the old school, the comic I did, but underneath it is a little bit of, comic book knowledge. Things like, the lettering on this is terrible, so here are some tips for your lettering. So it's kind of like a teachable
That's
moment.
awesome.
You've got a joke, but then you've got me seriously being like, but so here's some comic tips if you want to not make my mistakes.
Yeah, that's great, dude.
That's genius.
Yeah, we released our Ostrich Colony scrapbook that had our first attempts at making comics before, and we should have included jokes, Steve, and we should have included things in the margins. Lee, where were you then? That's a great idea. No, but that is a really great idea. So I'll post the links to all of that stuff and all of Lee's work below. Lee, what are you working on next after Sissonne?
So I've got a couple things in the fire right now. I have a more like a young adult series I'm doing right now that I've got an artist attached. The first issue's done. We're working on the second. The whole thing is plotted out, but it's sort of like an almost like Jungle Book and Yellowstone kind of thing, only a fictional Yellowstone.
Cool.
So we're doing kind of an American Jungle Book kind of story. And so that's one thing that I'm working on. I'm doing the second edition or the second volume of my horror story collection, The Auditorium, which is actually how those horror comics started. And I just making comics is expensive, so I was basically sitting on those. And I was like, I'm just going to do prose. So I wrote a horror novel.
Yeah.
And just released those comics for free. So I'm doing the next edition of that, and it'll be Weird West. And I've got a couple other projects I'm working on with some of the folks that I did my horror comics with. We've got like a pretty sizable a vampire graphic novel coming out as well.
Ooh.
Oh, heck yeah, dude. We're all about that for sure.
We love vampires.
Yeah, dude, it's been awesome talking to you. I can't wait to read literally all of that. Feel free to, send us everything. But yeah, thank you so much for doing this. I'm sure we're going to have you back in your next campaign and, in the future. You've been a really good friend and we really appreciate all of your support. It's really cool to meet you and talk to you. So thank you for, joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It's been great. It's surreal to have been watching so many of your episodes, and now here I am talking to you guys. It's great.
I hope we were welcoming. I feel like we're welcoming.
Stephen, we're welcoming. Just we're welcoming, Stephen. That's what
considering our
I've never felt more
welcome. Awesome.
You invited me to join a cult. How much more welcoming can you
see? The ostrich Kool-Aid pays off, Stephen.
It doesn't taste great.
It's not about being delicious. It's
spot.
about tolerating it together. Yes. we grow together through that terrible experience that we're putting each other through. It's fine. It's fine. You find one?
Hold on. Did I just find Oh, I got too excited. Thought I found a PDF rip of that exact book.
Would have been good. Could have been sweet. We're just going to make them up, Steven. Just make up DC Comics characters. Here we go. Let me try and think. Well.
Hold on. I went to a shady website, but it might work.
Ooh, nice. Getting dark in this interwebs situation.
Okay. Did the cover of your book have Superman punching Brainiac?
Yeah,
Or not Brainiac, but what's the opposite Superman?
Bizarro?
Bizarro Superman, Batman, like with Joker, and then Wonder Woman and Chitara.
No, I don't. I think it was just
The
like
DC Comics Encyclopedia, the definitive guide to the characters of the DC.
I mean, that's
universe.
perfect. Is that the PDF?
Yeah, I got the whole PDF home. So if I go to the end, that would probably be where the glossary is.
All right. Well, let me see. Pause recording. Participants. No one's in a waiting room or anything.
Okay, yeah, I got. Oh, but my glasses. Hold on.
Hasn't responded yet. Okay, that's fine. Let me. You cannot minimize Zoom. Okay, well, I mean, I love you, Zoom, but let me do what I want to do when I want to do it. All I want to do.
Awesome. I think I have it.
Yeah,
I think it's good. I think it's gonna be good.
Save.
And then I have the page numbers I can switch to.
Oh, that's awesome. Yes, I'm so glad, dude. That'll make it so much easier.
I don't know if I gave my Mac a super virus by allegedly downloading this. Are we recording? Allegedly found this from a random source.
Yeah, there's no proof. There's no evidence here. I mean, you never admitted to downloading anything. I mean, like, if anything, I own the book and I sent you a link to the digital copy that I'm probably.
I mean, you own that, right? I mean, we're a single entity, so
yeah, we own the book. I mean, we did realize recently that we're oops all venoms is what we do with characters.
You got to give them pizzazz, you know. You got to give them life and love.
Yeah, dude. I think it's funny because like I part of what I think works is that we have like the Jack Kirby Stan Lee situation, except for neither of us wants to be Jack Kirby or Stan Lee. You know what I mean? Like we both want to like do enough to have like ownership in a character, but neither of us care to take it from the other person. You know?
No, it's just our character. It's just like
yeah. So all of our guests become our characters, and we own that. Hello, Lee. Can you hear us?
It says it's connecting to audio. No,
oh, you're connecting.
Maybe not.
It's still connecting. We'll get it. And come on.
Come on. Come
on, Lee. You got this.
Come on, Lee.
Come
on. Oh, okay.
You got it.
Can you guys hear me? Got it. Yep. Okay.
We got it.
So, never used the Zoom app before, so everything coming through okay?
Yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool.
Yeah, Zoom took some. I mean, we've had what 104 episodes to get used to. I can't remember now, but yeah early episodes we had low audio, low video quality, and all that. So you look great for your first Zoom time.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
You look like episode 30 of us. So I mean, that's
thank you.
That's so true. I just watched some of your interview or like conversation with was it Pops Van Zandt, that guy?
Yeah.
I watched some of that last night. It was cool. So I was testing. I was like, I have to make sure that your camera isn't going to just be pixels, and that's all I ever see, and it's gonna ruin my whole life. And that it's, you never know. And like we always make do with whatever people can get. But I was like, yes, this is a good situation, But it's awesome to see.
Backdrop is so awesome. My wife and I spent today turning my whole setup around so that my cool stuff is back here too.
That's the thing is my walls are just cool. No, this wall does suck actually. The wall that my computer's on has like a McCree poster and then like I think a Sephiroth figure. I think that's nice. It. So but then
you have that cool Zelda situation going on. It's nice.
The hope posters, basically, like the Obama hope posters, but it's power, wisdom, and I'll post it to Twitter later.
Okay.
Yeah. My setup is a mess. It's in transition. But I'm moving, so I'm slowly tearing everything down. So this is for our conventions. I just put
cool.
I threw it over my TV, so it wasn't so boring. Because I stupidly took the Deathless poster and moved it over to my girlfriend's house, and I was
this is the first thing I need to bring to my girlfriend's house.
I seriously, Lee, like right before you joined, Lee, we were kind of like struggling to find a solution to this problem because I was like, normally what we do is we go through the DC Comics Encyclopedia, like physically, I have it, and I point to a random name. I packed it and brought it to my girlfriend's house and totally didn't consider it,
We can do Monster Test or whatever if that's easier.
Oh no, it's good. Steve,
Okay, okay.
I mean, but if we vibe it out and we monster test it up, that's fine too. But I found a PDF of the encyclopedia on the Google. And yeah, I mean, I clicked a few seedy websites though, so but I have a Mac, so I might be okay. We'll see. The viruses probably aren't designed for me, but we'll see.
Or what we can do is just set up the expectations real high and be like, hello, welcome to We Have Interviews. Lee is here to put Alex in his place. He's going to talk about dragons for 3 hours. Here we go.
He knows so much more about dragons. It's crazy.
He knows so much. The actual dragon doctor is in the house.
That was
real
an incredible
doctor.
interview.
Oh yeah, Alex is great.
Oh my gosh. I was like, should I wear a tie? Should I dress up now? Like,
please don't. How dare you? Well, I told Alex before, like, you know, we've kind of been slowly becoming friends on Twitter. Like, you know, we like interacting like anyone else, you know, like we become friends on Twitter. And then it's like, I saw him do interviews on other podcasts. I was like, you can't come on our podcast. You're too handsome. It's not okay.
He's a handsome man.
Yeah, I was like, it's not okay. I was like, you know, like maybe you'll draw people in, then they'll be like, oh, where else is he going? And like our audience will follow him.
Yeah, we're just gonna follow that guy. He's obviously the hero of this story, whatever this story was. Like, you're obviously the Vulcan skull.
The Vulcan skull. All right, let's get started. So we're going to do like a quick intro thing. And when I say the hello, you can also say your name after Steven's name. And then we're just going to ask you basically eight questions. And well, seven questions, and we're going to play the game, the Comic Conjectures.
Okay. I think the most important thing for me is to remember that I watch you guys all week. And so I feel like just to watch you on here, I feel like I'm like, okay, what's Anthony doing? Anthony stuff? I have to remember I'm actually on the show.
It feels like you're just watching a live episode.
I think that happens to Steven and I almost every week, where like I'll just keep talking and I'm like, oh wait, Steven, this is a show we're doing. I'm supposed to let you talk, and like we're not just. I'm excited. You go.
I'm like, do I? Because I see some like podcasts or some like, you know, like buddy podcasts where the other guy's like really good at doing the good segues, and I'm just over there like, which is not what people want to hear, but like I'm actually just talking to Anthony like I would talk to Anthony, so like it's just I need to be more professional at times.
I don't know if you've been watching, Steven, but I've been holding down the segues lately. I've been getting them in there. I've been finding ways to transition. So okay, let's try it. So